Naledi walked through the bustling Lagos market as though each step caused her pain. Her high heels clicked against the uneven ground, and she dramatically covered her nose with a silk handkerchief, her eyes filled with disgust. She glanced at her sister Chiamo, who trailed behind reluctantly. "How can people even breathe here? This smell is unbearable. I can't believe Mother sent us here." Chiamo rolled her eyes, hiding her jealousy behind a sarcastic remark. "Well, Naledi, not everyone lives in a mansion. Some of us walk through markets like normal people." Naledi scoffed, flipping her long, shiny hair back arrogantly. "Please, Chiamo, you might accept mediocrity, but I'm made for better things." Just as Naledi turned her head disdainfully, Luandi, a dirty, disheveled stranger, hastily moved through the crowd. In his urgency, he accidentally brushed Naledi's delicate arm with his rough hand. Naledi recoiled dramatically, her eyes flashing with fury and revulsion. She raised her voice, drawing immediate attention from nearby sellers and buyers. "How dare you touch me, you filthy animal!" she screamed, glaring at him with eyes blazing in anger. "Do you even know who I am?" Luandli quickly stepped back, raising his dirt-covered palms in apology. His voice was calm, gentle even. "I'm sorry, madam, it was an accident." Naledi's nostrils flared and her perfectly manicured finger pointed accusingly. "An accident? You touched me with those disgusting hands. Do you know how much this dress costs? Your entire family couldn't afford a single thread." People around them began murmuring, some shaking their heads in disapproval at Naledi's harshness. Chiamo silently watched, her eyes gleaming with hidden pleasure at Naledi's embarrassment. Luandli quietly lowered his head, allowing Naledi's scathing words to sink in, hiding his eyes, which momentarily flashed with deep, restrained anger and sadness. Luandli tried once more to apologize, stepping forward carefully, his voice gentle yet firm. "Madam, please forgive me. It wasn't intentional." Naledi's eyes widened furiously as he approached again. Without hesitation, she raised her hand and slapped him across the face with shocking force. The sharp sound echoed through the market, silencing every voice. Gasps rippled through the crowd as heads turned to stare. "You dare step closer?" Naledi shouted, her voice trembling with disgust. "You're nothing but dirt beneath my shoes. Stay in your place." Luandli stood frozen, his cheek turning red, eyes lowered in quiet humiliation. Vendors and shoppers whispered, pointing fingers at him. An elderly woman shook her head sadly, murmuring, "Such disrespect from someone so young." Naledi tossed her silky hair back, dismissing everyone around her with an arrogant sneer. She turned, grabbing Chiamo's arm sharply. "Come, Chiamo. I've wasted enough time on street trash." As they walked away, Chiamo glanced back at Luandli's embarrassed figure. Her lips curled into a small, spiteful smile. She leaned toward Naledi, whispering loudly enough for others to overhear. "You sure put him in his place, sister. Imagine, him thinking he could apologize to you." Naledi laughed coldly, lifting her chin higher. "Exactly. People like him should remember where they belong, beneath us." Their laughter pierced the silence as they exited the market, leaving Luandli standing alone amidst stares and judgment, his fists clenched, eyes quietly reflecting an inner storm. Back in their luxury car, Naledi adjusted her makeup, completely unaware of Chiamo's heated gaze lingering upon her reflection. The driver quietly navigated through Lagos's busy streets as silence settled between the sisters. Finally, Chiamo spoke, her voice dripping with sarcastic admiration. "You really love humiliating people, don't you, Naledi? I almost pity that poor fool." Naledi rolled her eyes dismissively, applying another layer of lipstick. "Why pity him? The weak deserve humiliation. It's the natural order." Chiamo's eyes darkened momentarily, her smile tight. Inside, a storm brewed, a bitter jealousy hidden beneath years of fake smiles and forced sisterly affection. She had always envied Naledi's effortless beauty, her flawless skin, her magnetic presence that drew attention wherever she went. Secretly, Chiamo wished for even a fraction of her sister's charm, her confidence. But Naledi always outshone her, making Chiamo fade into the background, forgotten and overshadowed. Chiamo clenched her fists discreetly, her thoughts whispering bitterly, "One day, Naledi, your pride will be your downfall. One day you'll understand what it means to be humiliated. Naledi suddenly looked up, noticing Tishiamo's reflection. Why are you staring at me like that? Jealous again? Tishiamo quickly masked her bitterness with a practiced smile. Jealous? Of course not. Just wondering how it feels to always be the center of attention. Naledi smiled smugly, shrugging her delicate shoulders. You wouldn't know. It's something you're simply born with. Tishiamo forced a soft laugh, swallowing the sting of Naledi's words. But deep within, the envy sharpened into resentment, quietly vowing revenge. Her sister's humiliation at the market had sparked something new inside her, a promise to finally outshine Naledi, no matter the cost. Lawandle stepped into the grand marble-floored lobby of the Echo-Lux Hotel, the quiet hum of central air and soft piano music, a stark contrast to the noisy market. The receptionist looked up and instantly straightened. "Welcome back, Mr. Lawandle." He nodded silently and walked past, leaving faint dusty footprints on the polished tiles. Moments later, in his penthouse suite, Lawandle stood before a full-length mirror. He peeled off the torn shirt and stepped into the shower. Water ran black with the dust and dirt of the streets. 20 minutes later, he emerged in a tailored charcoal gray suit, his beard neatly trimmed, shoes polished to a mirror finish. His hair was styled and a luxury watch gleamed on his wrist. The disheveled stranger was gone. He walked into the private office section of the suite where his assistant, Bio, stood waiting, visibly baffled. "Sir, why do you insist on these games?" Bio asked, trying to keep his voice respectful. "You're the CEO of a global tech empire. You don't have to humiliate yourself like this." Lawandle looked out over the glittering Lagos skyline. His voice was calm but cold. "To find someone real, Bio. Someone who sees beyond money. Because when you strip away the gold and titles, all that's left is who you truly are, and most people don't see that." He turned, eyes steady. "And today, I met someone who saw only the dirt on my skin, not the man underneath." Bio lowered his gaze, unsure how to respond. Lawandle walked past him, grabbing a tablet from the table. "Call the board. It's time I made some changes, starting with a small family business I just bought shares in this morning." The dinner table at the Dlamini mansion was unusually quiet. Crystal glasses sparkled under the chandelier, but the mood was heavy. Refilwa, elegant in silk, broke the silence with her sharp tone. "Naledi," she said firmly, cutting into her grilled chicken. "Word of your market drama has already reached the club. Do you realize the embarrassment you've caused us?" Naledi rolled her eyes, pushing vegetables around her plate. "Mother, it was a dirty man who touched me. I did what any woman of status would do." Refilwe slammed her cutlery down. "You slapped a stranger in public? What if he was someone important? Beauty without manners is worthless, Naledi, and your arrogance is becoming poison." Naledi's lips tightened. Chiamo, watching silently, smirked into her wine glass. From the head of the table, Gogo Nomvula spoke gently, her voice soft but steady. "Refilwe," she said, her wrinkled hand resting on the table, "let the girl breathe. She is young. Life has its own way of teaching lessons harsher than any mother's tongue." Refilwe frowned. "We gave her the best of everything, yet she walks around acting like royalty, spitting on those beneath her." Gogo Nomvula looked at Naledi with kind eyes. And yet, it only takes one fall from grace to remember how to walk humbly again. Naledi snapped, her voice cracking. "So now I'm a disgrace in this family for defending myself?" "No, child," Gogo said warmly, "but your mirror shows only your face. It's time you looked at your heart." For the first time that evening, Naledi's proud exterior faltered. Her fork dropped from her hand with a soft clink, but she said nothing. Across the table, Tishiamo's smile widened, just slightly. Lawandle sat in the dim glow of his study, a glass of untouched whiskey in hand. His assistant Bio entered with a tablet, eyes wide. "Sir, you now own 62% of Dlamini Holdings. That includes their real estate, textile shares, and media subsidiary. You have full control." Lawandle didn't blink. "Good," he replied coldly, eyes fixed on the photo on his desk. A screen grab of Naledi mid-slap, her expression twisted in arrogance. He stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the bustling Lagos skyline. His voice when he spoke was quiet but heavy with intent. "If pride blinds her," he said slowly, "then poverty will surely open her eyes." Bayo shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, this might be too personal. What if they're not all like her?" Lawandle turned, his face like stone. "They are," he said sharply. "That family wears wealth like a crown, but underneath it, they spit on the poor. If she had simply ignored me, I'd have walked away. But she humiliated me for being what I was, not who I am." He walked back to his desk, tapping through files on the tablet. "Shut down the supply line to their textile factory. Freeze their media accounts. Slowly, like a leaking pipe. They'll lose everything. No warnings, no chances." Bayo hesitated. "And what if she comes to you?" Lawandle didn't even look up. "Then I'll remind her of that slap, not with my hand, but with consequences." Outside, the world continued. Unaware of the storm one man had silently unleashed. The Dlamini mansion, once full of laughter and the clinking of champagne glasses, now echoed with silence and panic. Refilwe sat pale and shaking beside her husband's hospital bed. Monitors beeped rhythmically. The doctor stepped out, grim-faced. "He suffered a mild heart attack from stress," he explained gently. "He'll recover, but he must avoid any more emotional shocks." Naledi stood frozen near the foot of the bed, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Her fingers trembled as she gripped her phone, showing the official notice, "Dlamini employees declared insolvent." "How?" she whispered. "How could everything vanish overnight?" Tishiamo leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. "Maybe next time don't slap a stranger who turns out to be a ghost with power." Naledi's head snapped up. "What are you talking about?" Tishiamo shrugged, eyes gleaming. "Rumors say someone bought us from under our feet. Quietly, strategically. The same man you called street trash." Naledi's breath caught. "No, it can't be him. It was just a poor beggar." Refilwe groaned from the chair. "All the accounts are frozen. Investors have pulled out. We're being audited. We might lose the house." Naledi began to panic, backing away from the hospital bed. "No, no, no, this can't be real," she said, her voice rising. "We had everything. Money was our name. It was everything we had." She sank to the cold floor, sobbing uncontrollably. "I don't know how to live poor, Mama. I don't know how." Refilwe could only bury her face in her hands. Chiamo watched silently, her heart torn between revenge and regret. At that moment, in a dark penthouse across town, Lawande looked out his window. He didn't smile. Ugh, he simply whispered to himself. Lesson 1, humility. 2 weeks later, the once golden Dlamini mansion looked tired. Curtains were drawn, expensive furniture sold off piece by piece, and house help had long disappeared. The silence inside was broken only by the faint scraping of a spoon against a tin plate. Naledi sat at the dining table, eating plain rice with no stew. Her hair was undone, her nails chipped, and her designer clothes replaced by a simple, faded dress. Chiamo leaned against the doorway, arms folded, eyes gleaming with quiet cruelty. "Well, well," she said with a bitter smirk. "Look at you now, sister." Naledi looked up slowly, her lips trembling. Chiamo walked closer. "No more silk, no more servants, just you and your pride sitting at the same table you once looked down from." Naledi stood, trying to hold her dignity. "Chiamo, not now, please." Chiamo's voice turned sharp. "Why not now? You mocked the poor, called them trash. Now you can't even afford soap." Naledi's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know he was powerful." Chiamo laughed coldly. "That's the problem, Naledi. You never tried to know anyone. You saw dirt and turned blind. You thought beauty could feed you, but guess what?" She leaned closer, her voice now a dagger. "Beauty can't buy food, or pay debts, or save your dying father." Naledi collapsed onto the chair, burying her face in her hands. "I never meant for this," she whispered, broken. Chiamo turned away, leaving her in the dim light of shame. "I used to envy you," she said without looking back. "Now, I pity you." Enclosed. The next morning, Naledi stood outside the gates of Ecolux Hotel, her dress clinging to her in the humidity, dust covering her worn shoes. She clutched a folded piece of paper with a name, Lwandle Mthembu, and a heart full of shame. She hesitated, then entered the lobby. "I'm here to see Mr. Mthembu," she told the receptionist. After a long pause, the assistant returned and led her upstairs. When the penthouse doors opened, Lwande stood by the window in a navy robe, his posture calm, unreadable. Naledi gasped slightly. He looked nothing like the man in the market, but his eyes, those eyes. She fell to her knees. "I was blind and arrogant," she choked, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I judged you by your clothes, your skin. I treated you like nothing, and now I'm the one with nothing." Lwando remained still, arms crossed. His voice was low and sharp. "You mocked me in public. You slapped me. You humiliated a man who only brushed against you accidentally." Naledi bowed her head. "I know, and I've paid every moment since then." There was a long silence before she whispered, "Please forgive me." Lwando finally turned to her, his face hard, cold. "Forgiveness," he said slowly, "doesn't come from words, Naledi. It comes from actions, and yours are still full of pride." Naledi looked up, stunned. "I gave it all up," she said softly. "Isn't that enough?" He shook his head. "No, because you only changed when you lost everything. That's not humility, that's desperation." Naledi's mouth opened to speak, but no words came. Lwando walked past her toward the door. "You may leave," he said firmly. Lesson 2. Redemption isn't begged, it's earned. That evening, Naledi returned home, if the word still applied to what was left of their once grand mansion. Most of the lights were off to save electricity. The gate creaked as she entered, her shoulders heavy, feet dragging. She found Gogo Nomvula seated in the courtyard, peeling oranges beneath a dim bulb. The old woman looked up, her wise eyes immediately sensing the pain in her granddaughter's heart. Naledi sank to the ground beside her and rested her head on Gogo's lap like she used to as a child. The silence between them was gentle. "I went to him," Naledi whispered. "I begged. He turned me away." Gogo Nomvula stroked her hair softly. "He turned away your words, Naledi," she said gently, "not your lesson." Naledi looked up, eyes wide and wet. "Gogo, everything's gone. My friends, my reputation. I don't even recognize myself anymore." Gogo smiled softly, her voice warm but firm. "Maybe that's a good thing. The girl you were, proud, careless, cruel, she needed to be unmade." Naledi sat up, stunned. Gogo placed a hand on her chest. "Real riches, my child, come from here," she said. "From humility. Not handbags, not cars. Learn to value hearts, not gold." Naledi's lips trembled. "But what if it's too late?" Gogo cupped her cheek gently. "It's never too late to be human." Tears slipped down Naledi's cheeks as she buried her face in her grandmother's embrace. And for the first time in a long while, she wasn't thinking about status or shame, only about finding a way back to her true self. Naledi begged for forgiveness, but Lwandle didn't give it. Naledi thought losing her pride was the worst, until her own family broke her deeper than any stranger ever could. Sometimes the real betrayal comes from the ones closest to you. My besties, have you ever been hurt not by strangers, but by the ones you called your own? Tell me in the comments, who betrayed you the most? And if this story touched your heart, type "reborn" in the comments so I know you watched till the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the next episode. A storm is coming, and it's not over yet.